Ostracism was one of the most interesting and mysterious practices in the history of Athens. This practice, introduced in the 5th century BCE, attracted the attention of many historians, philosophers, and poets. It was a method used to remove dangerous individuals from power, but it also became a tool for political struggles, intrigues, conspiracies, and even secrets that surrounded such an important element of Athenian democracy. Ostracism as a political tool. Ostracism was a voting system where the citizens of Athens would decide, in an assembly, who among the most powerful individuals should be exiled for 10 years. It was a way to prevent the rise of tyranny, stopping one person from gaining too much power. The ancient historian Plutarch and philosopher Aristotle both mention this practice as a way to protect Athenian democracy. However, ostracism became more than just a tool to protect democracy. It also became an arena for hidden intrigues, power struggles, and conspiracies. Ambitions and secret alliances played a key role in how ostracism was used. Conspiracies and manipulations in ostracism. Ostracism allowed the people of Athens to exile anyone they thought could be a threat to democracy. But often, behind this process, there were not just noble intentions, but also intrigues for personal revenge or political competition. One famous example is the ostracism of the politician Cimon, who had close ties with Sparta. Although Cimon was popular in Athens, he was exiled through ostracism in 461 BCE. Historian Thucydides argues that his exile was the result of personal conflicts with other powerful figures, especially Pericles, who later became his political rival. Intrigue was common in Athenian politics. Many politicians used ostracism as a way to remove their competitors. Since a certain number of votes were needed to carry out ostracism, secret agreements between influential individuals were common. In some cases, there were manipulations of votes, bribery, and even threats. It is possible that such methods were used in Cimon's case. Legends and myths surrounding ostracism. Ostracism was also surrounded by legends and myths, which may have added a sense of mystery to the practice. One popular story is that Pericles, the most powerful man of his time, used ostracism to remove his political enemies. Some sources claim that when ostracism was first introduced, Pericles appeared as a wise leader trying to protect the people. However, as his power grew, rumors spread that he was using ostracism to remove those who could challenge him. According to some legends, Pericles manipulated the people to vote for the exile of those who were too clever or too influential. This gave the impression that Pericles was using ostracism to maintain his own power rather than to protect democracy. In other myths, ostracism was seen as a tool to fight tyranny, but historians argue that it often became a way for the political elite to fight among themselves rather than a real protection for the people. In many legends, ostracism is portrayed as a battle for the people's well-being, but in reality, it was more about maintaining the power of the elite. The impact of ostracism on Athenian democracy. While ostracism was designed to protect against tyranny, its impact on Athenian democracy was not always positive. On one hand, it prevented too much power from falling into one person's hands. On the other hand, it was often used for personal gain and to remove political rivals. In some cases, the decisions about who should be exiled were not made for the good of the citizens, but to benefit those who controlled public opinion. One famous example is Alcibiades, a politician who had conflicts with Pericles. After he was accused of treason, he was exiled through ostracism. His exile was the result of a conspiracy by his political enemies, who used public dissatisfaction to bring charges against him. The mystery of choosing who to exile. The mystery of ostracism lies in the fact that the decision about who to exile was often based on secret agreements and political games rather than objective reasons. The intrigues behind the scenes were hidden from most Athenians. Often, people voted not for the most dangerous person to democracy, but for someone who lacked support from powerful political groups. These groups would influence public opinion to help their chosen candidates. At times, these manipulations were unnoticed, and the voting process itself could have been influenced. In some cases, people were bribed to support certain candidates. In Simon's case, his exile was part of a political conspiracy where different groups worked together to present him as a threat to democracy. The end of ostracism. Ostracism was officially abolished in 417 BCE, but the reasons for this are still unclear. It may have ended because the practice was used more for political manipulation than for its original purpose. By the late 5th century BCE, ostracism was seen as a tool that went against democracy rather than protecting it. Eventually, abolishing it may have been necessary to maintain stability in Athens. Nevertheless, the practice of ostracism continues to fascinate people and raise questions about how it was used for political purposes.